Everyone. Excellent. Hello, everyone. This is Matt Owen, recording Red Star review of Cuauhtemoc Morgan's Unión de las Californias, the Union of the Californias. And so if you would give us a brief introduction to yourself and to maybe why you wrote the book as well.
Yes, thanks for the opportunity, Matt. As you know, I'm a journalist that have been working here and make my professional career in Baja California for more than 20 years. I work as a journalist in I think in the main newspapers and, uh, and magazines. And I own with my wife Ermelinda a blog now as Colectivo Pericú, that is a news blog, and also another news sites. But uh, I've been working all my life in the journalism. So the book Union of the Californias is a new book. I have four or five books before this, but this book I start to read it the last year. So the main goal that I want to project in this book is that the people of Baja California knows why we are living a big gentrification phenomena that we didn't even perceive, but this phenomena is spread all over the peninsula through the great inversions of the richest people of the United States and also California, and they are buying beaches, they are buying residents, they are installing in many colonies that are spread all through the beaches, throughout the beaches, throughout the whole peninsula. So this phenomena starts maybe in the 1990s. So right now we have a population of about 250,000 Americans living here in the peninsula. That's because I decide to write about this phenomena, that is a gentrification phenomena, and explain the historical roots of this phenomena in my book, how did it started, and what we will be facing in a short and long term of time.
So I understand that your book begins with a discussion of, where the name California was first used, since the Spaniards, colonized us from south, where you're at, to north. Okay,
Yes.
same like they did the Mexican mainland.
Yes, I put many topics. That's one. That's because the Americans are calling us just Baja, and the original name of California has its origin. The origin of the word California was used for first time in the history here in Los Cabos. Cabo San Lucas was the first place that received that name and was called Cabo California. And this we have cartographical data that proves that the name California was used for first time in the history in Cabo San Lucas. That's the origin of the name. But with this gentrification phenomena, we are losing many values of our cultural values. One of that values are the name California. The United States people and the British people and the power of the money are just calling Baja. We are not Baja. we are, where our name is California. Baja California Sur is the name of the state where I live, and the original name of this part of the Mexican Republic is California. The peninsula was the first place in the world that receives that name. And if you see all maps, you can see that the peninsula was identified as California Peninsula, just California Peninsula. But in the actual time, we don't have that name. They call us just Baja. They identify us just as Baja. And Baja is a depreciative adjective, the totally depreciative adjective. We are not Baja. We are Baja California Sur, and I explain in this book why I want to reclaim and to be named again as California. The original California is one of the topics that I put in this book, and I explained it very standard also, and is a part is one of the parts of this book on which I deepen and reflectioning on how we are losing our original values and cultural values. Our cultural values is exploding. It could be vanished with this gentrification phenomena that is together with this phenomena, and also the way that the people of the United States are calling, maybe mainly the inversionists are calling this land just as Baja, and we are California.
Muchísimas gracias. So meanwhile, as you know, since 1848, Alta California, where I'm at, was annexed by the US. And not only that, but like the peninsula, it was divided into a state and a territory. Okay, you had California state, Nevada territory. Why? Because they wanted to facilitate colonization of the territory, which became Nevada, right? You may recall the same thing happened in the peninsula. They had Baja State, and where you're at was Baja Territory. Why? To facilitate the colonization of the southern part of your peninsula. Okay, so they divided up both Alta and Baja into a state and a territory to facilitate colonization at the expense of the indigenous people. Okay, continuing rather than discontinuing the old Spanish policy of colonization and intensifying it in certain places. Yeah? So meanwhile, you know, here in Alta, we were annexed in 1848, but that didn't stop the colonizers from taking colonizing interest in the peninsula, did it?
Yes, I think there were very attempts of colonizers from California to annex the peninsula. The first was William Walker. He's a journalist from the United States, a very interesting person. He proclaims the first independence act in La Paz. He wants to be a new country, all the Walt Peninsula and also Sonora. He was trying to annex Sonora and the Baja Peninsula as one country, and they use a flag with 2 stars and 2 bars, two red stars and 2 bars to proclaim the independence of the Baja Peninsula. So there are many attempts from people of California, many expeditions through the history. The second one, I think there was a Frenchman that want to independence Sonora. and also many movements, political movements that push governors of the California governors to 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 make to try to attract the senatorial uh, to attract to push a senatorial resolution so Washington acquires the whole peninsula through a buoy how you say to buoy the peninsula.
Mhm.
And the governor
Yeah,
of
to buy the
California,
peninsula.
maybe one, two,
Mhm.
maybe 2 or 3 governors of California try to buoy the peninsula and push Washington to on that manner to get the support to acquire the whole peninsula. So that's the part and the point of, that began many black legends uh, that we grow with that the United States wants to buy the peninsula to make a purchase our through an agreement with the Mexican government to take possession of the peninsula. I think there are many documents approved that, and also many people that talk about that, but without a support. And I investigate that, and that's many documents I read to write this book, and I found many documents in the uh, history files in the United States and also history files in Mexico that uh, that shows that the United States has an interest to buy the whole peninsula. So we have also another topic here in the book, the status of our Gulf of California, that is doesn't have is considered international waters, and we don't know why the Gulf of California are international waters. I see it's a big hole in the in our constitution, because the Mexican constitution doesn't consider the Gulf of California as a part of Mexican territory. And it's a mystery, a total mystery for me, how this is happening today. It's a big hole in our constitution.
Hmm. So yeah, we have the resistance of the peninsula both to U.S. annexation and to try to interfere in the Gulf, which is considered internal Mexican waters. Now let's flip the coin. You're also in MIBC, ¿verdad? The Movement for the Independence of Baja California. So if you could just briefly tell our listeners the differences that have come up between the peninsula and the Mexican mainland.
Yes, uh, I think I found also an explanation for this political phenomena that starts in 1912. He also in the state of California at the same time with a independence movements in California and then in Baja California, mainly in the city of Tijuana, where this movement starts through the Facebook and grow as a phenomena uh, in a very short period of time to to capt to captivate many people with this idea of the uh, independence movement that take all the peninsula as a new, to convert it in a new country, because the possibilities for the Baja Peninsula to survive without without Mexico are totally supported by the natural resources, the economic growth, uh, and also the inversions, the 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 people, the industry, and we have enough possibilities to be a new country in all the concert of nations in the world.
Yes, we feel the same way in Alta. Okay, we are now experiencing multiple crises because of these oligarchs. Okay, we have the information oligarchs here in Silicon Valley that are censoring our ability to read the world's press. Okay, so we're being cut off by our own information oligarchs in Facebook and Google and Yahoo and YouTube and so on, and Twitter. And they quite often do their cutoffs simultaneously. So they're not acting independently of one another, the competitors, which supposedly they are. They're cutting us off. Okay, they're trying to trap us in a US propaganda bubble. We have, of course, the oligarchs. We've got nothing like Pemex, and problems though Pemex may have, we don't have anything like it here. And so we're paying astronomical amounts, which have nothing to do with the lack of Russian oil, which is only like 1 or 2% of the entire US total. Okay, they just saw an opportunity to hijack the pumps, and they get a lot of that oil from really terrible governments like the Saudi government, okay, that just recorded over 60 beheadings, and then they bomb Yemen and so on, and they say not one peep about that. So we have the oligarchs, we have the information oligarchs, we have the real estate oligarchs that have created the homeless crisis by continuing to consolidate real estate holdings into the hands of a few oligarchs and then turn around and increase rents. And of course, the military industrial oligarchs that are trying to push us into a horrible war. Okay, so these oligarchs are just ruining things. And a lot of Californians in Alta are saying, basta, yeah, enough already. We want out. Same like you want out. So I think the title of your book, Unión de las Californias, really speaks to us, because we were one country at one time. Okay.
Yes, I choose that title because California, the state where you live, is right now as a big magnet that in one moment will absorb or will annex this peninsula and call form the richest region in the world. And let me read you uh, um, a newspaper of Rosarito that published this. This tycoons of California are inversion are investing in the real estate in all the peninsula of Baja California. And that is a declaration of Gustavo Torres of the Mexican Association of Professionals in Real Estate.
Mm-hmm.
The most richest or wellness investors of California are acquiring properties here in the peninsula in how you say, when you buy a property and has a range of inversion is $20 million. That's
Mhm,
the price that they are paying for properties here in the peninsula, the whole
mhm.
peninsula, all the beaches of the peninsula are being selling to the richest people of the state of California. That's a reality. That's a big phenomena, and we are not prepared for that, Matt. We are just viewing how all the the beach properties, all the houses and through the seashore are sold to people that comes to California State, and are making this a new home, and that uh, is an explosion for the real estate because the prices of the properties are overvalued, and in a near future we can acquire a home here because the price will be the highest in the history, and maybe we can face a phenomena as yeah, or the word you are saying,
Mm.
the people can acquire a home and we have to live uh, as a homeless phenomena, or face of homeless phenomena in the main cities of the peninsula.
As we have here, those same oligarchs are buying it up in Alta. That's why we have such huge homeless encampments here in Alta. I'm in Silicon Valley, which is where the information oligarchs are. And there's just block after block, whole districts of homeless. Yet we have more vacant rooms than there are homeless people have for a while. So there's a vast maladjustment. Something I want to, make clear for our listeners is that it was the call to reunify our country came from Baja. Okay, it's not a matter of Alta annexing Baja as a U.S. state, which you would resist. It's a matter of you seeing us and we seeing you both wanting the same thing, the independence of our country. So for
Yes,
us, your suggestion that we reunify makes perfect sense.
yes, I think that will happen in maybe 20, 30 years or 15 years, 50 years. So the native people, the local people, we haven't see the what is happening with this gentrification phenomena, and we are losing our cultural origins as local natives people, and because the history of Baja California is swept from the books in the schools. We don't have nothing in the school books about the history of Baja California, and we are uh, maybe uh, on unconsciously accepting this gentrification phenomena, and that is what I the motivated to me to write this book, because we are vanishing all the our cultural origin, all the values that identifies us as residents residents of this peninsula here in Los Cabos and La Paz, Mexicali, Tijuana, Rosarito. Uh, we are just one nation, or we can be considered one culture of the northwest Mexico. So we are losing that values that identifies us as residents or natives of this peninsula.
And our in the schools here in Alta, they lie about our history too. Okay, they don't talk about the period in which we were all in the same Mexican territory. And a year before this flag behind me was hoisted in 1836 and 1835, our common governor, Jose Figueroa, wrote a book in which he defended the return of the mission lands, which were secularized under Mexican law a few years prior. He defended the return of the mission lands to those from whom they had been stolen. Because the other parties that he was arguing with in his book, First Project in California, Monterrey, they wanted to claim the land for themselves. And he goes, well, okay, fine. But first we have to return land to those from whom it was stolen. That's what the book's about. Okay, it's the dispute between Governor Figueroa and these two gentlemen who came up from, Capitolinos, I think. So they lie about that. They lie about the so-called bear flaggers. They were the William Walkers of Alta California.
And many
Okay.
Californians ignore why our big sea is called the Gulf of California, because they say why the Gulf of California is in the besides the peninsula. See, if the Gulf of California must be a property of our state of California, and that's not true. The Gulf of California is called because historically, here is the origin of the name of California, the peninsula.
Mhm.
That's they are called. If you see on all the promotion that that is made in the United States, in America, refers to the Gulf of California as Sea of Cortez.
Mar de
They
Cortez.
never use anymore Gulf of California. They call just Sea of Cortez, because John Steinbeck, I don't know why, but they are using constantly the name Sea of Cortez to identify this part of that divides the peninsula of Mexico. And that's a part of this big phenomena that I'm talking and I touching in this book. This is the Gulf of California. We must fight for the name, not the Sea of Cortez. It's the Gulf of California because the peninsula is originally named California.
Just as here, otro lado, we are a region of a larger country. We are also California. We're only half of the country. Okay, and a country that was there before the Yankees got hold of it. The capital, as you may know, it started out in Monterrey, and then there was some, political contest between them and the Angelenos, and just before the U.S. invasion, the capital was moved to Los Angeles. The civilian capital was the military zone was still headquartered in Monterrey. Didn't make a lot of difference, unfortunately. But after the annexation of Alta California by the U.S., not only did they divide it into a state territory along Lake Tahoe, but they moved the capital a few times. First, they didn't want it to stay where it was at because it's full of Californios. That's the capital. So they moved it here to San Jose, which is a really Californian town at the time too. So they're surrounded, these colonizers surrounded by people who weren't their friends. So they moved it to this little place on the East Bay I've been to, right? And that's where it was when something called the Gold Rush happened. And then they moved it from there to Sacramento. You look at Sacramento and you look at the gold fields, you understand why. It was a headquarters in Sacramento, the genocide carried out against the indigenous people on whose land the gold fields sat. That's why the capital is in Sacramento. So, all this history, the tragedies, the complexity, they don't talk about in the schools here in Alta any more than they do in Baja. They erase our history on both sides. And so we're rediscovering it. That's how I rediscovered this. That we had a flag before the bear flag, which represented our common independence. Okay.
Yes.
And it's slowly gaining acceptance in our independence movement as a common national flag.
Yes.
So,
So
you look at all three states have this as their, you look at the three state flags, and they have this as their direct predecessor. This was our first flag.
the star is the first flag of the Californian people. That star. And well, Matt, I want to make an invitation to all the people that see this video to buy my book that is here, Union of the California. It's sold through Amazon. You can find it in Amazon. And also, I will make some presentation here in Los Cabos, La Paz, and maybe in April or May in Tijuana, Ensenada, and Mexicali. It's redacted totally in Spanish, but I will find the way to translate it in English. So I think there are many topics that will interest to the people, the English spoken language people that lives in California, that they will find in this book that I presenting. I finished it in November, December, and it's available from December or January in Amazon. And maybe if I work the most I can, maybe at the end of this year of 2022 will be in English, available also in Amazon.
Excelente, excelente. Looking forward to seeing that.
And this is the region of the Cal exit. That's because I put San Francisco Bridge and the peninsula as one region that maybe in the near future will be reunified.
Mhm.
And I explain why could happen that phenomenon.
Oh, yes. And the more the two federal governments, keep doing what they're doing and do more of it, the
Yes,
more urgent our liberation and reunification becomes. Yeah.
it could be. It could be. They make
Yeah.
a lot of mistakes, and that will be part of a big motivation to look for a reunification of both Californias, or three Californias.
Yes,
So
Gran
Matt,
California.
I want to thank you for this interview, for this conversation, and excuse me by my limitation with the English language. I'm practicing all days, but I hope to be more prepared when I have the English edition of my book to present it also for the people of California in the own in totally in English.
Creo que su inglés es mejor que mi español.
It's a total disaster, my English. Thank you, Matt, and for this conversation.
Muchísimas gracias, paisano.
If you want to add something.
That we will be fighting for hard for our liberation and unification. A este lado, as you are a su lado, and no hay lados. Okay, sino un Gran California. The people who really be glad to hear that are the Kumaye. When an international border was cut between us, it went right through their territory. Okay, so they'll be the first to benefit from our reunification. And then explotamos, we will explode.
It will be. It
Yes.
could be, of course. Thank you, Matt.
Muchísimas gracias. Viva Gran California Libre.
Viva Gran California.